is pointing out is that a rigged economy is an economy which has more income and wealth inequality than any other major country on earth. It is not American. It is not what our country is supposed to be about when the top 1/10 of 1% now owns almost as much wealth as the bottom 90%. America is not supposed to be about the 20 wealthiest people owning more wealth than the bottom 50%, 150 million Americans.
57% you pay, Jason.
America is not supposed to be about one family, the Walton family of Walmart, owning. Not only does this one family own more wealth than the bottom 40%, but this wealthiest family in America turns out is the largest beneficiary of welfare in this country. How crazy is it? How crazy is it that the wealthiest family in America pays their Walmart employees wages that are so low that many of their workers are forced to go on Medicaid and food stamps, and the middle class has to pay taxes in order to subsidize the Walmart employees? That's crazy. So I say to the Walton family, get off of welfare, pay your workers a living wage. But it is not just inequality in wealth. All over this country, in my state of Vermont, here in New York, all over America, we have people who, despite huge increases in productivity and technology, are working longer hours for lower wages. We got people working not one job, but 2 jobs, 3 jobs, trying to cobble together the income and the health care that they need. We got families where mom is working, dad is working, the kids are working, families and marriages are stressed out, kids don't get the attention they deserve. And in the midst of all that, people are working so hard. 58% of all new income created goes to the top 1%. You ready for a radical idea? Together we are going to create an economy that works for all of us, not just the 1%. But when we look at the reality of America, and I've been looking at some reality right here in New York State. I've been to the housing projects which are deteriorating. I have been to communities where unemployment is 40 or 50%. That is not acceptable. It is not acceptable that this country has the highest rate of childhood poverty of almost any major nation on earth. Brothers and sisters, together we are going to transform our national priorities. We're going to invest in our people, not give tax breaks to billionaires. But it is not just a corrupt campaign finance system. It is not just a rigged economy. It is a broken criminal justice system. Every person here should be embarrassed by the fact that we have more people in jail than any other country on earth. We are spending $80 billion a year to lock up 2.2 million fellow Americans, disproportionately African American, Latino, and Native American. That is not what this country is supposed to be about, and we are together going to make major reforms in a broken criminal justice system. At a time when youth unemployment, especially for minorities, is off the charts, we are going to be investing for our young people in jobs and education, not jails and incarceration. We are going to bring real reform to local police departments all across this country. I was a mayor for 8 years, and I've worked very hard with police officers all over my state, and in fact all over this country. And the vast majority of police officers are honest, hardworking, and have a very difficult job. But if a police officer, like any other public official, breaks the law, that officer must be held accountable. We have got to demilitarize local police departments. We have got to make police departments reflect the diversity of the communities they serve. We have got to understand that the use of lethal force is the last response, not the first response. We have got to end private ownership, corporate ownership of prisons and detention centers. We have got to rethink the so-called war on drugs. Turns out that over the last 30 years, millions of Americans have received police records for possession of marijuana. Turns out that under the Federal Controlled Substance Act, marijuana is listed as a Schedule I drug right alongside of heroin. That is crazy, and that's why we're going to take marijuana out of the Federal Controlled Substance Act. And when we talk about drugs, you know, and I know that this country today faces an epidemic of opiate and heroin addiction. But the best way to deal with that crisis, where people, by the way, are overdosing every day, the best way to deal with that crisis is to understand that drug abuse and addiction is a health issue, not a criminal issue. This campaign is creating the momentum and the energy it is because we are listening to the American people, not just wealthy campaign contributors. And what working people are telling me is they cannot make it on $9 or $10 an hour. We need to raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour. Hillary Clinton thinks we should raise it to $12. She's wrong. We need $15 an hour. This campaign is listening to women. And women are telling me that they cannot make it on 79 cents on the dollar compared to what men earn. The women in this country want the whole damn dollar. And I know that every man here will stand with the women in the fight for pay equity. Now, we don't talk about this very much, but a great nation is not judged by the number of billionaires or nuclear weapons that it has. A great nation is judged by how it treats the weakest and most vulnerable amongst us. Today, in my state, in your state, all across this country, there are millions of seniors, disabled veterans, and people with disabilities who are trying to get by on $11,000 or $12,000 a year Social Security. And you know what? Nobody can get by on $11,000 or $12,000 a year. Now, my Republican colleagues in the Senate, they got a brilliant idea. They want to cut Social Security. We got bad news for them. They're not going to cut Social Security. We're going to expand Social Security benefits. Now, I have introduced legislation that lifts the cap on taxable income going into Social Security so that people making $5 million will not continue to pay the same amount as somebody making $118,000. You do what my legislation suggests, we will expand Social Security benefits by $1,300 a year for people earning less than $16,000. This is a simple proposal, an idea that Barack Obama brought forward back in 2008. I have challenged Secretary Clinton over and over again. Does she support raising the cap and expanding Social Security benefits for the elderly and the disabled? I still have not gotten a clear answer from her. This campaign is listening to young people. And young people are telling me, why is it happening that for the first time in the modern history of this country, after all of the technology, all of the global economy, if we do not change this economy around, they will likely have a lower standard of living than their parents. I grew up in a family in Brooklyn, by the way. My brother and I and our parents lived in a 3.5-room rent-controlled apartment. We never had much money, but my parents worked hard with the hope that their kids would be able to do better than they did, and that happened. That is called the American dream. And brothers and sisters, we will not allow that dream to die. And the young people also tell me, we did what our parents, what our teachers, what our community asked us to do. They said, go out, get the best education that you can. And they did. They went to college, but it turns out they left school $30,000, $50,000, $70,000 in debt. Now, what this campaign is about is thinking outside of the box, outside of the status quo. And I want you to think about this for 1 second. at a time when we live in a competitive global economy where we need the best educated workforce in the world, why are we punishing millions of young people for getting an education? These young people should be rewarded, not punished. And that is why I believe in 2016, when we look at the concept of public education, we should be making public colleges and universities tuition free. And substantially lowering student debt. Now, my opponents and the establishment and Wall Street and all the media people, they say, well, Bernie, you know, you're like Santa Claus, you're giving away free stuff. Free public tuition in colleges and universities, lowering student debt. How are you going to pay for it? Well, I will tell you exactly how we're going to pay for it. 8 years ago, the Congress bailed out the illegal behavior on Wall Street. I believe that now we should impose a tax on Wall Street speculation. We bailed out Wall Street. Now it is Wall Street's time to help the working families of this country. This campaign is listening to our brothers and sisters in the African American community. And they ask me, how does it happen that if we could spend trillions of dollars on a war in Iraq we never should have gotten into? How does it happen that we do not have the funds to rebuild inner cities all across this country? Why is it that we are not building affordable housing desperately needed in New York City? How is it that we are not providing our kids with the best public education in the world? We are going to change together our national priorities. We're not going to get sucked into endless wars abroad. We're not going to be busy rebuilding the infrastructure of Iraq or Afghanistan. We're going to pay attention to the needs of inner cities in this country. This campaign is listening to our brothers and sisters in the Latino community. And our brothers and sisters right now in desperate economic shape in Puerto Rico. There are 11 million people in this country who are undocumented. Many of them are being exploited on the job because they have no legal rights. And that is part of the race to the bottom that we are going to end. I agree with our brothers and sisters in the Latino community. We need comprehensive immigration reform and a path toward citizenship. And if Congress does not do its job, I will use the executive powers of the president to do what I can do. Our immigration policy is to unite families, not divide families. This campaign people whose voices are very rarely heard, and that is the Native American community. All of you know that from before this country became a country, the Native American people were lied to and cheated, and treaties they negotiated were broken. We owe the Native American people more than we can ever repay, and yet many of people on the reservations and in Native American communities are hurting today, and hurting badly. The time is long overdue for us to change our relationship to the Native American people, and that's what I will do. And one of the extraordinary gifts that the Native American people have given us is an understanding that we are part of nature, that we must live with nature, not destroy nature. I am a member of the U.S. Senate Committee on the Environment, and I have talked to scientists all over our country and all over the world. The debate is over. Climate change is real. Climate change is caused by human activity. It is already, as you know, causing devastating problems in this country and around the world. And what the scientists tell us, and this is scary stuff, if we do not get our act together in the next very few years, a bad situation will become much worse in terms of drought, floods, extreme weather disturbances, rising sea levels, destruction of the ocean, and more international conflict as people fight over limited natural resources. We have a moral responsibility to leave this planet, our only planet, in a way that is healthy and habitable to future generations. Now, the fossil fuel industry, in their greed, may not like it, but we are going to tell the oil companies and the coal companies and the gas companies and all of those corporations that are destroying this planet that their short-term greed and their short-term profits are not more important than the future of this planet. And together, this nation will lead the world, working with countries all over the planet in transforming our energy system away from fossil fuel to energy efficiency and sustainable energy. And in the process, we're going to rebuild our transportation system. We're going to have the best rail system, the best mass transit systems in the world. We're going to see an explosion of solar and wind and geothermal. And when we do that, we're going to create millions of decent paying jobs in this country. Throughout this campaign, I have been criticized for thinking too big. Just a wild and crazy guy. So let me repeat something that has gotten a lot of criticism for our campaign, but let me be as clear and straightforward, because I believe this from the bottom of my soul. And that is, health care is a right of all people. Healthcare is a right, not a privilege. Now, I am a member of the Senate committee that helped write the Affordable Care Act, and the Affordable Care Act has done a lot of good things for our people. We have done away with the obscenity of pre-existing conditions. We have added 17 million more people to the ranks of the insured. And we have done away with discrimination against women in terms of the price they pay for their health care policies. But despite the gains of the ACA, what happens today is that 29 million Americans still have zero health insurance. Many of you, and what this strike with Verizon is about as well, are paying more and more for deductibles and co-payments. And every day we are getting ripped off by the pharmaceutical industry, who charge us the highest prices in the world for prescription drugs. You want to hear crazy? Crazy is 1 out of 5 Americans getting a prescription from their doctors but not being able to afford to fill that prescription. Crazy is elderly people cutting their pills in half because they cannot afford the medicine that they need. And then on top of all of that, we spend far, far more per capita on health care than do the people of any other country. And that is why, in my view, we must join the rest of the industrialized world through a Medicare for all single-payer program. All over this country, people are beginning to look at the status quo, and they are understanding that it is not acceptable and that it is not working for them. They are looking around them and they're asking, how does it happen that we have more income and wealth inequality than any other major country on earth? How does it happen that for 30 years, the middle class of this country has been shrinking and trillions of dollars in wealth have gone from working families to the top 1/10 of 1%? How does it happen that we have more people in jail than any other country on earth? How does it happen that we are the only major country not to guarantee paid family and medical leave? How does it happen that we are the only major country not to guarantee health care to all people? Why is it, they ask, that our infrastructure is crumbling, that we have the highest rate of childhood poverty of almost any major country? People are looking around them and they're saying, this is not what America is supposed to be about. And people also understand that real change in America has never come from the top on down. It has always come from the bottom on up. The American people understood that over 100 years ago, when workers had no rights, when they were working 7 days a week, when children were working in factories, when people could be fired arbitrarily, workers came together and they said, we're not animals, we're not beasts of burdens, we are human beings, we are going to have dignity on the job, we are going to form trade unions. And hundreds of years ago, in the midst of the agony of slavery, African Americans and their allies began standing up, coming together to say that in America, the day will come when we will end slavery and racism and bigotry and discrimination. And millions of people came together to fight for that vision. 100 years ago, no time at all, from an historical perspective, women in America did not have the right to vote, did not have the right to get the education they wanted or the jobs they wanted. But women stood up. They stood up, they fought back. They went on hunger strikes. They went to jail. Some of them died, but with their male allies, they said that in this country, women will not be second-class citizens. If we were here 10 years ago, no time at all, and somebody jumped up here and said, Bernie, you know, I think that in America, gay marriage will be legal in 50 states in this country, the person next to her would have said, you're nuts. That can't happen that fast. But it happened because the gay community because the gay community and their straight allies said that in America, people will have the right to love whoever they want, regardless of their gender. If we were here 5 years ago, no time at all, and somebody jumps up and says, you know, Bernie, this $7.25 federal minimum wage, starvation wage, we got to raise it to $15 an hour. The person next to him would have said, $15 an hour? You want to double the minimum wage? You're crazy. You're thinking too big. It's too radical an idea. Be sensible, it can't happen. But you know what occurred? The people in the fast food industry in McDonald's and Burger King, those people went out on strike and they told the world they can't make it on $7.25 or $9 an hour. And then what happened? Seattle, Los Angeles, San Francisco, $15 an hour. Oregon, California, New York State, $15 an hour. In other words, what was seen as radical 55 years ago, unthinkable, has happened. And that is where we are today. The establishment tells you that we can't break through the status quo, that our options are very, very small. I don't believe it. I believe that when people stand up, when they exercise their democratic rights, when they are prepared to fight for social and economic and racial justice, there is nothing we cannot accomplish. And that is what this campaign is about. It is much more than just electing a president. It is empowering our entire people. It is understanding that each and every one of you are very powerful people when you choose to exercise that power. And tomorrow is a good first step in exercising that power. Tomorrow is the Democratic primary here in New York State. It is an enormously important primary because there are a lot of delegates at stake. My experience has been in this campaign so far is that we win when the turnout is high, we lose when the turnout is low. Tomorrow, let us all do everything we can to make sure that New York State has the largest turnout in a Democratic primary in its history. Can help take this country a giant step forward for the political revolution. Let's do it. Thank you.
Switch on the TV, you may pick him up on channel 2. Look out your window, I can see his light. If he can sparkle, he may land tonight. Don't tell your papa, or you'll get us locked up in fights.